Live, live, live.
John's going through puberty.
No, it sounded like a billy goat. Live.
Oh, welcome to Talking Toast, friends. It is 8:26. You have 2 minutes because we officially start at 8:28. So
We do.
take these moments and grab a friend, grab a drink, and grab your friend a drink. But don't take your friend's drink.
I turned that function off on the new Apple operating system.
The grab your friend a drink function?
No, the grab the top of the window and then it spreads out
Oh, I
across the
hate
whole
that.
thing. And I
Yeah.
turned it off, and then I don't know what happened. I must have
It
restarted
turned it back on.
Turned it back on.
It's kind of like the automatic switchover of if you, let's hypothetically say we're following a president on social media, and then all of a sudden you're following the new president on social media.
Yep. So I need you for 1 second to take the lead, and then I need to go get a charger that works for my computer.
Deal.
Because I'm down to 24%.
We're going to talk about the greatness of women's basketball.
Ooh.
And the thing that happened this weekend was that, there was like a national championship and stuff yesterday in football, but nobody cares about that except for like one state. But most importantly, what happened in sports this weekend was the launching of the unrivaled 3-on-3 women's basketball league, owned and operated by the women, made for the women. And y'all, it is fun. It is fast. It is exciting because there are players who haven't played together before. And man, it was cool. Kate Martin hit a game winner. Kate Martin of Iowa fame hit a game winner on, I guess this was Saturday night. And then she played again on the Laces last night, and they blew the other team out of the water. So it's just been a lot of fun to watch. I hope you're tuning in. Max and TNT are the ones carrying the Unrivaled League. And they just announced that it was their largest event for women's basketball. You just knocked Michelle Obama over. No one can do that. It was their largest event streaming women's basketball ever.
Really?
So that's a really exciting move for women's sports, for sports in general, and so exciting.
The Unrivaled was the largest stream. How about that?
Yep.
That's something else.
And they're automatically, like, ticket prices have gone out the roof now.
Really?
They were like $150 for a night of tickets, and now it's just absurd. So, Unrivaled. Cheers to you. And here we are, back at the table for Talking Toast.
We are.
And sometimes we evolve or devolve into sports talk radio, and sometimes we talk about sermons, and sometimes we talk about life, and who knows where we're going tonight.
And Deanna, hello.
Hello, Deanna.
Good to see you in Raleigh. Yeah. This is, sorry, it's going to take me a second to catch my
You
breath.
had to run up both flights of stairs. Whew.
It is good to be here tonight. Sorry, I'm switching gears in my brain. We just had a finance committee meeting like a few minutes before we started here. So my brain is not quite caught up with the rest of my
Story of my life.
body, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Story of your life with me.
Yeah.
My brain is not quite caught up. Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks. So
You said it, not me.
Each week, are we ready to get into
Yeah, let's
into
do
this?
it.
Let's do this. Each week, we talk about on Talking Toes what is sustaining you. What is the thing that's getting you by? What is the thing that is your 808 beat that's in hip hop? Barbara Brown Taylor would ask, what is saving your life right now?
I had my afternoon coffee today at about 2 o'clock. So I'm rocking and rolling. And I slept till 8.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yep.
That
was sleep number 2. I woke up with you and then I went back to sleep.
I yeah. Today,
One of those days.
I felt like I went into the office and it was just like boom, 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 like just following up one, 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 and then on top of that, usually I'm okay. I'm a little competitive, so usually if we win something in that, then it's like, all right, it's fine. We won. We still did, and then we lost the food drive challenge that we issued to Buffalo. But I will say this. We had Catonsville in general, but through one church, and in Buffalo and Niagara Falls, it took 9 churches, I think,
To beat us.
to beat us.
I think that's something to be
That's a
proud
moral
of.
victory, right?
And in the process,
I believe in moral victories.
And in the process, we filled the pantry.
yeah, exactly.
So for those of you who might not be aware, we challenged churches in Buffalo in conjunction with our playoff game, the Baltimore Ravens playoff game against the Buffalo Bills, to raise food for our local pantries.
Yeah.
And this is the second year in a row that we've done it. And I calculated it based on the number of items we received, and we collected over 2,000 meals worth of food.
Really?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So just an incredible effort on our little church's part.
Our church's part, and then we also posted it on community-wide things,
Yep.
and people, I was at the church all day yesterday, Sophie and I were, for the most part, receiving, we have a bin outside, and people were dropping off
Yeah,
all
people from
day
the
long,
community,
so
yeah.
that's just absolutely
That's good
wondered.
stuff.
I don't know how many pounds we lost by, but we lost by about
It was about 1,000.
400, no, it was about 400,
Oh.
something like that. We did 17 something, and they did 21 something.
The score is on the church Facebook page,
Yeah.
so go check it.
Yep.
But Talking Toast.
But Talking Toast, yeah.
So we pull back the curtain on the creative process,
Mm-hmm.
and we begin that by naming the things within us that are sustaining us.
yeah,
So we hope you'll contribute and name what is sustaining you,
yeah.
because that's important to us, and it shapes what we do with the sermons.
Deanna said, "Did you see Moses on Sunday?" I did see Moses on Sunday. We got to hang out.
He stayed at our house.
He did a wonderful job with music, and yeah, you should go back and watch.
Yeah, it looks like she
Deanna.
did, because she sees that
She
you
saw
did
that we
your-
did the children's the own child. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was great.
So
So yeah, I'll say that's what's sustaining me.
Moses' visit or the music?
All the above.
Yeah.
Good friends and safe space and all those things are really, really amazing, and that was great. But there's something about music and getting to just be a part of
Yeah.
that Sing Out March On song, and hearing the choir get into it, and
That was a
hearing
spiritual
the bass
experience
with
for
Bob,
sure.
and that was just, and Moses led that so well, and it was just that was a lot of fun, and I was excited about that. Rebecca said, "Congrats to the church, and congrats to Katie for getting a huge grant for the YMCA. I'm proud of you."
It was a fun one.
Yeah.
That's the Enough grant. So if you're in another state, your governor might be consulting with us about how to put these types of grants on. The Y is doing this huge project to hopefully end childhood poverty in East Baltimore, and I got to be a part of the groundwork for that.
Awesome.
So it was a lot of fun.
good
Thanks,
stuff.
Rebecca.
Good stuff. So you've talked about what's sustaining you.
No, I haven't.
I did. I asked you first, and you said,
I didn't say anything.
"Did you not?"
We got sidetracked.
You said something at first. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the tape. I pull out the red flag. I challenge.
You
challenge
can
this play.
replay that, but I have not said what's sustaining me yet.
All right, what's sustaining you? I really thought I asked what's sustaining you. I'm so sorry.
No. Yeah, it's okay.
What's sustaining you?
Well,
And what's sustaining you? If you
this is what happened. Oh, Lord. What is sustaining me is that I've been having some good time working on some personal writing. I write as my job, as both of my jobs. Between being a pastor and being a grant writer, I do a lot of writing every week. I've really been trying to write more about the stuff that I'm noodling in my head, and it's been fun. So I've got a Substack, and it's all right.
It's great,
But
I've read them, every one of them, and they're all awesome.
So,
really
and
proud
I'm
of
going
you.
to actually talk about that in a little bit today, but it's called A Modern Canon is the Substack, and I write about finding wisdom and spiritual guidance from literature. And I'm really finding a lot of joy in that.
That's great. That's great. Your mom said it's sleeting like crazy.
In Savannah.
Yeah.
And Sophie
you
is
don't lose
currently
power.
playing checkers with my dad.
Yep. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've talked about what's sustaining us. Still chime in if you would like to share what's sustaining you, what's getting you by. And then the other thing that I was going to say is that we are in this delightful church project,
Yes.
and we're going to get back to that in just one second. But I just wanted to say that that's something that's also sustaining me, is trying to be very intentional about looking for those delights, and they creep up
Yeah.
on you, and that's been really,
I
really
want to
nice.
read one of my delights, if that's okay. It's a short one. I want to read. So a part of the Delightful Church Project, I'm recording my delights with paper and pen. And I was thinking about this one earlier because every time I look at our dog, I just get like sucked into her galaxy. So this is what I wrote. This was my delight on the 14th, so I guess a week ago. When I walk into the living room from the dining room and Lily looks at me, her eyes create the strongest magnetic pull on earth. She draws me into herself, ears back like she's either done something wrong or is really excited. Or maybe she feels wrong for being really excited. Whatever it is, I can't resist. So I walk over and bury my face in her neck, coming up for air only to find a clod of fuzzy undercoat in my mouth. She never seems to mind. It's like a special grace that I take a little hair with me, unburdening her from that which she's been trying to shed. Anyway, this morning, after being pulled into her orbit, Sophie snuck under my arm, squeezing herself between Lily and me as if to say, I want in on this. And for a moment, we just loved on each other. I showered them both with kisses, though only one ended in a mouthful of fur. In the embrace, I knew these moments aren't forever. But in this moment, as I got to hold my two girls, my whole world in my arms, I showered them with the hairy kisses and looked deep into both of their swirling universes. That's my delight.
Good job, Sophie. Sophie's clapping for you. Yeah.
So this has been a really fun project.
Yeah. It has been. We have a senior shepherd, and she is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to need you to talk for a minute.
Okay. So just to orient us, we are doing this Delightful Church Project as an experiment, a holy experiment, in grounding ourselves in delight as a resistance to all that is going on right now. And so we're not being Pollyannish. We are being true, and we're writing about hard things like our senior shepherd. And but finding the delight in there is engaging joy as resistance. And so this is kind of the spiritual grounding that we hope to have in these next years as uncertainty abounds. So each week our worship service is shaped around two homilies. The first being on the lectionary, the 3-year cycle of biblical narratives, being on the lectionary gospel. And then the second one kind of engages the lectionary gospel from a particular angle of delight. of the Delightful Church Project that we're thinking about the question of what makes a delightful church.
Yeah, Heather Cox Richardson wrote, I believe it was today, that she wrote about joy as resistance, and I think that is what this is the practice we need right now. This is perfect timing for this. And Bill shared being aware of the simple delights in every day is sustaining us right now. Just staying in the moment and being positive minded.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're giving the first homily.
I'll do the first homily this week.
And up until about 5.5 minutes ago, I thought it was one text and it's a different text. So help us understand. Not 5.5 minutes ago. 5.5 minutes before we started, I thought it was the story of Jesus in the temple as a child. But it is a different story of Jesus reading the scrolls at the beginning of his ministry.
I wonder if whenever we started reading that on our sermon prep, we said, "Oh, this is Jesus in the temple," and just went on.
I think we did.
And said, "The wisdom of the elders."
I think
that makes sense. Yeah. So in this is Luke 4 verses 14 through 21. It talks about Jesus, yes, going into the synagogue and basically walking in, unrolling the scroll, reading from Isaiah, and then saying, This prophecy has been fulfilled today.
Boom.
Just walking off.
Mic drop.
Yeah. So, and it says, the Spirit has sent me. The Spirit has empowered me. So what we see is the Spirit at baptism. The Spirit comes down in bodily form like a dove. Spirit claims Jesus as beloved. And then we see the Spirit is with Jesus, accompanying Jesus as Jesus goes into the desert or the wilderness to be tempted, which we're going to get into in Lent. And then in this text, it starts off with Jesus is empowered by the Spirit. And so there's this like spiritual piece to this, that empowerment comes from there. But I've often wondered about the message of Jesus. And I think a lot of people, and maybe even me growing up, if we would have said, if somebody would have asked me early on, what was the purpose of Jesus? What was Jesus' ministry? And I would have said early on, like, oh, he died for our sins. You know what I mean? That's not what Jesus says. Jesus says in this, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Spirit has anointed me to bring good news to the poor, has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to set those who are oppressed free. That's what the Spirit has Jesus doing.
So empowerment doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Right.
You are always empowered for something. Right? And so Jesus is empowered for this incredible tilting of the world on its head. And the irony is he is given power to redistribute power.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a whole conversation about the power dynamics in the Gospels.
Yeah.
That is absolutely fascinating, because take all the religious stuff out of it. Son of God, all of that. And the Gospels are entirely about redistributing power.
Yeah. Yeah. Bring good news to the poor. Flip. Proclaim release to the captives. Flip.
Yeah.
Recovery of sight to the blind. And really, that's not just recovery of sight to the blind. That's anybody who's been held at a distance, anybody who's been called different, anybody who feels that way.
Yeah.
Flip. And then those who are oppressed to set free. Yeah.
It makes me think about, did you see the video today going around social media about the bishop at Washington National Cathedral?
Yeah, I did.
Who addressed the new president.
Yeah.
And said, have mercy
on
these people.
Yeah.
and started naming names,
Yeah.
started naming people and groups.
Yeah.
To which now there are senators who are crying for her to be investigated.
Yeah. Of course.
But empowerment is always for a cause.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, empowerment is always for a cause. Well, that's, I think, that first homily. So how are you tying this to delight? Because this is, when we think of spirit, we also think of the spirit being tied to wisdom. And the spirit in parts of the Old Testament is tied to Lady Wisdom. Lady Wisdom cries out on the streets and tries to get people to listen to her. And that's the same tradition of the spirit that's at play here.
Yeah, and it's no accident that Jesus is reading from the scrolls. He's reading these words from the scroll of Isaiah.
Yeah.
Right? These words about good news to the poor and proclaiming release for the captives and recovery of sight from the blind. All of that, that is not new stuff to the New Testament, right? Jesus is squarely situated as a Jewish prophet, reading from the Jewish prophets, the Hebrew prophets. And so he's reading these ancient texts of wisdom that have been passed down. And so to me, what that says is that being a delightful church, engaging in community in a way that sparks delight and is grounded in delight, is contingent upon seeking out wisdom. And not just seeking out any wisdom, because I think everyone knows we live in a post-truth world, so we're not like... We've got to use discernment when it comes to wisdom, right? But seeking out wisdom that has stood the test of time. And I think about, obviously we've got biblical texts that have been set apart as a guiding source of wisdom. But I think we have a lot more wisdom that is untapped for its capacity to provide us guidance. And being a delightful community, being a delightful church, means looking out for those sources of wisdom. Means reading Toni Morrison and Ross Gay and I don't know,
listening to the music that is life-giving.
Listening to the music that moves something in you that you can't describe. Reflecting on the poetry of Phyllis Wheatley and the fiction of James Baldwin, alongside the speeches of Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, like, we have great sources of wisdom that I think, and I write about this a little bit on my Substack, but I think that our Protestant, not entirely, but Protestant idolatry of the Bible has prevented us from seeking out wisdom in other places.
Yeah. And she's all around. She's on the street corner in the Old Testament. So
she's everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I put the song Ooh La La as the lyrics. That I wish that I knew what I knew now when I was younger. I wish that I knew now when I was stronger. And I think that there's two sides to this. There's the wisdom of the ages, and there's the wisdom of experience. And what wisdom of experience has taught me over and over and over again is value this experience. Value this experience. It's not, I think that song, we've all thought that at some point. Man, I wish I knew this now. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
It works that you experience and then, that's how this goes. And then and there are some things in that wisdom, like, oh, that's how it works, that the other person has to come to that. Oh, that's how it works. And so how do we give space for that? And then how do we celebrate and delight whenever they have those moments too?
Talk a little bit about what that's like for you. The getting to the, oh, that's how it works. And trusting in the wisdom of your experience. Because I think this is a really important thing. We, as post-Enlightenment people, Westerners, really place a higher value on the written word.
Sure.
As opposed to wisdom that is passed down through non-verbal and non-written forms.
Sure.
And we also don't, because I think of the impact of the Protestant counter-reformation, and I'm talking about the rise of the doctrine of total depravity. We don't trust ourselves. That's kind of in the water of 21st century Westerners. And so I don't think it's a natural thing to trust our experience, both because they're non-written, non-verbal, and we have in our ecosystem a distrust of self. So talk a little bit about how you get to that moment.
I mean, you get to that moment by stubbing your toe, right? Like some of that is learned because, for example, I'm pretty good at reading people. And there have been so many times where I've thought, I think I've got an idea of who this person is, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave all that aside and I'm just going to give whatever. And then just about every single time it turns out like, oh no, that's exactly that's what I thought it was. So there's this wanting to give space because first impressions aren't everything, of course.
Yeah.
And I've had plenty of bad first impressions.
Second and third.
Second, third, sometimes. But yeah, so for me, it's learning to trust myself in reading people. I've got some gifts in that. It's also like just learning to trust your gifts in general. Like you've been given,
claim them.
Yeah. We've all been given some gifts in this, and and we've all got it to offer to the world. I struggle with that. I think that there's those kinds of things, and then whenever you see something play out, and then you get to that, wait a minute, like that's how this all played out, or that's how this all worked, and holding that loosely.
Yeah, it's hard, and I want to be very clear here. You're grasping for language because it's hard to talk about personal experience.
It is.
Because it is so non-verbal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just that feeling that's in your gut.
Well, yeah. So that's both good and it's also cautionary. Because if you this is the way Rob Bell talks about it, is if you asked every person in a room, like, were you changed in the pandemic? Just about every single person in a room would say, yeah, I was changed. And then you ask them, like, how are you changed? Like, what changed for you? And it's like, well, I worked from home for a while, but, then it kind of got back. There's not like, it's hard to put your finger on it.
Yeah.
And yet we all experienced a collective trauma in this.
Right.
And it's hard to name that.
Yeah.
So there's wisdom in that too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How we're going to react, how we're going to, and how we what we need to do different next time around.
There is wisdom. So the theological term here is cataphatic and apophatic theology. So cataphatic is saying like, I believe God is yada yada yada, whatever it may be. It is a positive, affirmative statement about what you believe a particular being or entity is, does, etc. How they manifest, all of that. Apophatic is a little more muddy. Apophatic are the things that you can't put words to. Apophatic are the, well, I know God isn't a person, and God isn't entirely a spirit, and God isn't a dog, but I also know that God is manifest in all of those ways. And so you're like feeling around. So apophatic theology trusts the experience, but is far more imprecise, and therefore less efficient in a world that values precision and efficiency.
Yeah.
So in a way, this apophatic theology, this feeling around for wisdom and meaning and
delight,
all of this delight is resisting this cultural impulse to be precise and efficient.
Yeah. It's just like for a delight journal, right? You wrote beautiful words with that. Did those beautiful words completely encapsulate the experience that you had? No. If I take a picture on my phone of something that really moves me, is that in any way, all it is like pointing toward it, right? It's just reminding. But no, it doesn't share the whole experience.
We're grasping. We're a finger pointing at the moon.
Yeah.
And do not dare mistake the finger for the moon.
Yeah. Trust the heart and recognize our humanity. Good words, Bill Harding. Well, we've done some talking. You ready to do some toasting?
Yeah, I'm all fired up. I'm like ready to go. Like...
You want to talk for a while?
No, yeah, we're good.
All right, hour number 2 of Talking Toast.
This is why it's going to be very important to have Sip and Savor for us to go long.
So, we'll get into that maybe next week. But we did our first recording for our long show. And I'm really, really excited about it. Our long show is going to be called Sip and Savor.
Talk and Toast. Short.
Sip and Savor. Yep. We are going to be featuring creativity is the through line. And we're going to be featuring poetry, music, trying something new, and an interview in all of our Sip and Savors. And I don't know how long they're going to end up being. We're still working on it, but we recorded our first one not first full one, but we recorded our first segments this weekend, and it was really, really life-giving. And I cannot wait to share Sip and Savor with all of you. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Be on the lookout.
Sophie, just in time for the game. Thanks for letting me play with Sophie. I think Sophie, did you beat Mimi in checkers? No. Oh, okay. Good job, Mimi.
You beat a 7-year-old.
Well played. All right. Well, friends, we've done some dogging. We'll do some toasting. And pretty soon we'll do some savoring. Okay. Start us off, Katie.
Friends, go forth from wherever you are. And remember that there is wisdom and delight to be found all around, even in the places that society would tell you it is not there.
And remember that it's the Spirit that empowers you. That heart center is right here, and that it is inside of you. So use your good gifts.
Cheers.
Cheers, friends.
Cheers, everybody. Good to the last drop.
I haven't quite gotten that far. I will.
I think I poured you more than I did.
Well, friends, we will see you next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. And
Take care of yourself.
yeah, and stay warm.
Take care of each other.
That's right.